welcome to the Higher Way podcast with yours truly, Bob. And tonight I've got an old friend of mine who I actually originally met in my own gym, I think, quite a few years ago when he was doing a course with another friend of mine, Guy. Is that right? Isn't that right, Keith? Keith Collyer. Hello.
Hi, Bob. Yeah, how you doing? All right, mate?
Yeah, I think that's right, isn't it? I met you in my gym because Guy was that right?
Do you know what? I think it was. I was
Yeah.
on. Was it? I don't know if it was your gym, but we were in Birmingham. I think
Yeah,
it
that
was
was
the other gym we was at, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was that was my gym in West Heath, and Guy was using it to do the courses. I'm sure that's where I met you. There's quite a few guys there. I think there's about 8 or 9 people on the course.
Right. There was like a room with the tables around. You came in and
Yeah,
had a chat, and then I came and had a chat with you, didn't I?
that's right. Yeah, bloody hell. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
funny, isn't it, how people get to meet, and
Yeah.
and you're still talking to me.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
So
overseas.
yeah, oh, amazing. Of course, I mean, I haven't seen you in the flesh, as it were, for over a year now because of the lockdown and all the madness that's going on. Like, so, but it's nice to have a catch up. And we were talking before I hit the record button, we're talking about quite a few things. In fact, you pulled your chopper out earlier on, didn't you? And it seems to be quite a lot of people are interested in axes and battle axes at the moment.
I was a bit disappointed because yours was bigger than mine, Bob. Was out as well.
Well, it's longer. It's longer. So, So I'll tell you what I always do with these things, Keith, is and because it's going to interest me as well, because we've never really had the conversations. Because when two martial artists meet, and I don't know whether people know this or not, you don't sort of go, oh, so when did you start? Was that back in when? You don't. You just start talking nonsense. So my question to you then is, what got you into all of this mad martial arts stuff? What started the journey like?
Do you know what? It was quite funny. I never actually really was into martial arts as a youngster. I did a little bit of karate, a tiny bit, and it was hard, so I gave it up.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
But saying that, it's quite funny because I did other things. I did sort of running for Sussex. I did cross country running for the Royal Marine Cadets. Then I joined the American football team and played for American football for 3 years. And so I enjoyed that sort of stuff. And then I just sort of rock and roll clubs, rockabilly clubs, girls, beer, you know where I'm going with this. And I had a great time. Started roadieing and bouncing for some different bands and stuff like that. Some punk bands.
You see, you do look a bit like C6 Steve, to be honest.
Actually, someone's actually said that to me.
Oh, have they? Right.
It's time to get rid of this, I think. He's about 75, I think, Bob. So never mind, touche.
Yeah.
So I sort of just spiraled out of control a little bit, having a good time like you do. And then my dad died. And when my dad died, it was a bit of a shock because he wasn't really that. He was 73, I think.
Right.
That time it's not old now, but it was it's about 20 years ago now, 20 odd years, 23 years. And I had to look after my mum and my sister, and I was drinking a lot of alcohol and stuff like that. And I just thought I just can't carry on like this. I've got to look after my family, and in the end, I just thought I need to do a hobby, get me out of the pub. And that's the truth of the matter. And some guy came and done a demo of Wing Chun at a local sports centre. I went along and had a look, and this guy was so fast. I thought, bloody hell, I'll have a go at that. And I went along and I joined, and I stuck it, and I stuck it, and I stuck it, and I carried on going once a week in Crawley. And then he started another class in where was it, Horsham, and another one in East Grinstead. And then I started training with the main man up in Croydon. So I was doing 4 nights a week, and then I started doing like other plate things at weekends and stuff. And the next thing you know, it sort of takes over your life a little bit, and I started getting fitter, stronger, knocking the alcohol in the head and all of that. And I've now been doing it sort of 22 years. So
it's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, and yeah, it all started with that. I ended up sort of becoming his assistant instructor because I hung around and stuck it, and yeah, really enjoyed that side of things. And you know, I love Wing Chun, still train it, still teach it, really enjoy it today. But of course, you know, I've done other things as well because I just like to find out what other styles are going and what's good. You know, some things are good for different ranges, different types of combat. So yeah, I just went looking for other things as well. But that was the main thing anyway. What started.
So the Wing Chun was. So did you? I mean, obviously, I know quite a few people who do Wing Chun in the Midlands, for example. Sean Rawcliffe's the big name around the Midlands, so I know a lot of his students, some of whom have trained with me. And there's an old mate of mine, Alan Bagley, who trained in Wing Chun originally, trained with me in Thai boxing, and he's teaching again Wing Chun in Birmingham. But I don't know how many of them actually do the weapons, because I believe you also do the weapons of Wing Chun as well, don't you?
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah. I mean, basically, I didn't when I was with it was Kevin Chan and Cayman that I was with to begin with.
Right.
You know, that was his sort of system. I sort of left when I was a brown belt and I started doing other things. Started doing, you know, looking at weapons and how to defend from weapons first before using them.
Yeah.
And I started going looking at Krav Maga. I was looking at a lot of different other things and started doing boot camps in Krav Maga and really enjoyed the training because it was a different type of training. It was more less martial arts, more self-defense. And I started doing that, and I got a bit disillusioned with Wing Chun, to be honest. I was with another Wing Chun school I don't need to sort of name, but I just didn't get anywhere with it whatsoever. So I left that and went and started doing other things. And then I went and met the instructor that I've been training with ever since, who, funny enough, is only sort of 12 miles down the road. And,
right, okay.
Introduced to him, and I've been training with him ever since. And he's the one that you know I've trained with. His name is Wes Hussey from WCK UK, and you know, I owe him a lot in the respect of what he's taught. I think he's a fantastic instructor. It's one of them guys that no one knows of. He's quite happy like that, just does his thing, and that's fine as well. It's either that or he's dodgy and he's got somebody's got no. But you know, it just goes to show, you know, some of the best instructors aren't the ones you see all the time. They're usually busy just getting on with what they're doing.
It's funny that, you know, because this comes up whenever we're doing podcasts. We always end up talking about the people that influenced us who nobody knows about because they're not very good at marketing. And it's often the case that the people who are really good at marketing are not always the best martial artists. Not always true, but generally, because I think we spend most of our time teaching, we haven't got time to be online and going, oh, look at me, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, you know, I think you're right there. And, you know, obviously some have managed to adapt, and that's good as well. Some are, you know, I'm not exactly the quickest at adapting. I'm getting there slowly. So I think we all have to a certain extent. But, you know, you don't have to make it. I think sometimes you end up thinking you're in competition, and all you need to do is be happy for yourself. Happy, you know, are you earning enough? You're doing what you love. So why do you need to have, you know, 150 grand coming in a year? You know, at the end of the day, of course that's nice, but the stresses that I think can come with that actually aren't making you enjoy what you're doing. So
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I know martial artists who are friends of mine who I won't name from back in the day, and they're really wealthy. I mean, they've got loads of money, but when you meet them, they've changed. I talk to them and they talk about business first, whereas 20 years ago, all they want to do is talk about the martial art. You know, it's like quite sad, really. They've lost the passion for the art, and they've now replaced that with a passion for making money. You know?
Yeah, I get that, and I mean, I understand that there's got to be a bit of balance.
Yeah.
Because if you're not earning the money, you'll end up stopping working for the post office.
Yeah, you've got to earn money.
You know, so and I think we're one of the worst types of people in a way, that we think in a way that because we love it so much, we offer it for free. We feel guilty taking money for it, when really and truly we work our asses off for it, and we get battered as well. You know, I'm 55 now, and I'm starting to feel like every time I'm on the floor, I think, do you know what? I don't mind getting back to the floor. I just don't like getting back up again. And that's
you'd rather stay down there now. Have a lovely
I just rather,
I know the feeling. I know the feeling.
Have a, you know, get a pillow and have a little lie down or something. But yeah, you know, I think it's, you know, sometimes I think it can be pushed at you. I've been guilty of this as well, thinking, oh, you know, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, getting all stressed, knowing that I'm actually crap at all of this. So, you know, I'm trying to sort of, now I've worked with a couple of people. I've got better at knowing what I should know. Doesn't necessarily mean that I actually am good at it. So it means that I know enough to be able to give it to someone else and know what I want, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So, like you say, you used the word balance, didn't you? You said it's about having a balance. So earn a living, still enjoy what you do. You know, I think that's the key to it. But at the end of the day, you know, who's to say we might be wrong? These people with all the money and the fancy cars and stuff, they might be really happy. I mean, my experience is most people, when they've got that sort of lifestyle, they're all, when particularly when lockdown happened, a lot of them were like stressing out like beyond belief. Oh, I'm going to lose everything. The great thing, particularly for me, is I've got now to lose. So my students still, you know, I've still got students, I've still got classes, I can still do my seminars. I'm learning new things like yourself, you know. I was going to come to that point because you're always, like you've already said this, you know, you started off your Wing Chun as your core art, but that didn't stop you from having a look, like becoming like a bit of a butterfly and having a look, you know, jumping from one thing to another and getting your head around that as well. And I mean, you mentioned Krav Maga, and mainly for its self-defense aspects, because traditional Wing Chun, like most traditional martial arts, sort of almost like formulaic, aren't they? And they've sort of gone as far away from the original intention of them as is possible now. You know what I mean? Where the form becomes more important than the fight, if you know. And I think
I definitely think that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, me and you have had this conversation loads of times, and we always have a bit of a piss take with each other about it, don't we? In as much as, you know, you're saying about your Thai boxing, and I go, yeah, my Wing Chun. And, you know, if you look at an elbow in Wing Chun and an elbow in Thai boxing, they're both the bloody same, more or less. But the thing is the Thai boxers are busy kicking shit out of pads, while the Wing Chunners are busy worrying about whether their chi sao is just right or not. And I even see chi sao being done where the whole idea is they're rolling arms, but all they're thinking about is rolling arms. I'm rolling arms, getting close to strike. You know, so what I do is I actually get in and do rolling arms really close. And if I don't like the person, I'll just peck them on the cheek because that really pisses them off. I just really like getting in really close, because that's the sort of, if someone's attacking you, they don't attack from a distance unless they got a weapon. They will come in, and so I try to make Wing Chun a little bit more real and how it used to be. And I think it's actually got better through sort of when you say a butterfly. I agree with you to a certain extent, but that's fine if you have got a good core in something.
Oh, that's what I mean. Yeah. I would never, and I know this is why I said it about you. You spent, you know, a long time studying Wing Chun before you started looking around. And this is, I think, the mistake a lot of young lads and girls make, particularly with the MMA fashion that there is at the moment. Whereas everybody's an expert in about 2 years in stand-up, in grappling, and they're blatantly not. Because, you know, I meet a lot of mixed martial artists, particularly at the university classes, because there's an MMA class in the university, and some of their guys come to me and they couldn't fight their way out of a paper bag. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because all they've done is roll around on the floor with somebody in a gi or without a gi. Whereas in the real world, just getting somebody on the ground is going to be difficult if they've got good stand up.
Mm.
You know, if somebody's good at stand up, they're not going to go to the ground. And from my point of view, at my age, because I'm like 64, if I go to the ground, I won't be able to get up. So I've got to stand and fight. I'll be like, oh shit, I'm stuck down here now. But having that core, which is what my main point is absolutely vital. And sometimes building that basic core will take years, not a couple of months doing one class a week. But there seems to be this fashion for like, oh yeah, I'm an MMA guy. Oh, what's your stand-up like? Brilliant. What's your groundwork like? Brilliant. What's your throwing like? Brilliant. And then you clinch them and they're fucked. Or you punch them. You punch them and you go, whoa, oh, I don't, and they fall over and you go, well. Now I'm not talking about the people at the top end of the MMA.
No, yeah.
We're talking about the average student that we get through the doors, you know?
I mean, a lot of the people you see fighting in the MMA, actually, most of them have a really good base in one of the arts, because that's
right.
That's all MMA is. And, you know, you'll find that majority of them are either BJJ or some sort of form of stand-up striking art. Yeah. And then they have to get good at the other one, and then their game will be what they've been doing the longest, I think, most of the time, you know. I think we have to have a certain amount of honesty, and that is that, you know, is Wing Chun as good on the ground as BJJ? No, it's not. Is boxing better in a ring than I don't know, BJJ? Yes, it is. And at the end of the day, they're all good for what they're designed for.
Yeah, for what they are.
They are what they are, and they are. And you know, what I like to do is look at things and sort of look at them and say, right, you know, with my own Krav Maga. When I was training Krav Maga, I really enjoyed it, and I took a lot from it. I loved the way the pressure testing and the way they trained you and the adrenaline dump and using all of that stuff. But I just found that it did have holes in it because they weren't training the clinch range. And I thought, you know what? I know the clinch range because of Wing Chun, but I wanted it more rough and tumble. I wanted it. I just wanted to. So I mean, that's when I first started training with you, wasn't it? Because we started doing combat clinch work.
Yeah, that's right. The old combat clinch work courses.
That's it. Yeah, and started doing the combat clinch work with you, and I really enjoyed that because I took that and then I took Chi Sao, put the two together, and used my own cross clinch. Now I still call it combat clinch in a way, but it's now what we do. I filled that gap with the range that was missing in the Krav that I did.
Yeah.
Because it's about range, and you know, if you're fighting in a Thai boxing match, I quite like Thai because you're using a lot of the range. Boxing, you're only using short range, really, when you think about it. Even then, it's more mid-range fighting, isn't it? To be honest, it does get close, but so I mean, they all have their good points, you know. I love boxing training for stamina and actually learning how to hit hard and use your body to hit hard and your core. And I think everything's got something to you know, rather than people always say this, Bob, mine, that, you know, my martial art is better than yours. I don't think that at all. I just honestly see more of everyone sees the differences when you start your journey between the arts. As you get further on, you see the actual things that are the same. You see all the
similarities.
You know? And to me, that's a big thing, because you just smile. If you're good at karate, you're good. If you're good at boxing, you're good. If you're good at BJJ, you're good. You're more or less the same, because we've only got 2 arms and 2 legs.
You know? And this is my old karate teacher. Somebody said to him, "What style do you do of karate?" And he said, 2 arms, 2 legs style. And the guy looks at him like, he going, "Well, you can only use them in so many ways, you know." And like you've just said, Keith, there's more similarities in the martial arts than there is differences. And the fundamental thing is, of course, is it's the man in the fight. It's the person in the fight that makes it work. I know people who definitely couldn't make karate work if they train for 50 years as hard as they can, because they're not fighters. But I know one or two guys who teach them anything, teach them Tai Chi, and they'll rip your head off because of their attitude to the fight.
Yeah.
And it's how you train these weapons. That's the key thing.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what you call it, what's the intent behind the art. And this is why, it was interesting. You said you were doing a martial art, but you wanted to find out more about actually self-defense, fighting. And because your Wing Chun didn't offer that, even though, this back in the day, that's what it was developed for. It was developed for fighting,
Yeah. I mean, as much as the Wing Chun style that I was doing was a very basic style, and it's actually I quite like that, and it was good to teach people a basic level of self-defense, but it was just I just found Wing Chun has got very slappy, happy slappy, and I know it can be better than that, and I know that there are people that teach it in a way where you don't just hit someone and say, oh, the sow is from here to here. They call the sow the whole arm. The sow is the whole arm. Mm-hmm. So, if you miss with this, you hit it with this. If you miss with this, you hit with that. If you miss with that, here. And if you go past, then you put in a Thai boxing back spinning elbow. There you go, Bob, because they're not in Wing Chun, because you mustn't lose the center line, but sometimes you do. So, it's knowing a few little tricks and get fun with it as well, not getting too serious.
No, well, this is the thing as well. And when people stick slavishly to the form, they start to miss out on opportunities. It's like with a lot of my friends are involved in BJJ, because it's very big in Birmingham.
Yeah.
And one of my friends who's I think he's a black belt now in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, he said, what? Because he said, you've done very little groundwork. I said, I've done a tiny bit of it back in the day, but I'm not interested in it, I'd rather stand up. I don't want to be on the floor, especially in a real fight. That's the last place I want to be. So I always wanted to be good at stand up, or having the ability to run away really fast. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or pick up a weapon and use it effectively, And he said, well, what would you do if I locked you off on the ground? I said, I'd eye gouge and bite you. Mm. And his first thing, and he had to stop himself afterwards. He said, but that's not allowed. I went, whoa. We're talking about fighting here. We're talking about fighting, not sport. And this is the problem people have. What they're doing is practicing a sport and thinking it's fighting. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like sport karate bears no relation to actual karate.
Yeah, definitely. And it can leave people with a false sense of security as well. So you end up in a worse position than someone that doesn't know anything and goes, fuck this, and runs off.
Yeah.
And you've got someone else, exactly. It's knowing what your limitations are. And being honest, it's like when I teach knife defense, I teach people that always try and make distance, and they said, but what if I've got them in close, I can't get cut anyway. I said, all right then. And I always make a point of doing this. I'll do the perfect capture, I'll do everything perfectly, and then on purpose I'll slip and end up on the floor, and they just stab shit out of me. And I said, anyone can slip. I said, so there's no 100% in anything. Exactly. And there was a nice little saying that I heard. It was a guy who's he was a captain police officer when I went and trained in Virginia in the States.
Right.
He was training with us when I was training with Hank Hayes, and Hank Hayes was brilliant. He opened my eyes to knife defense. So I owe a lot of my knife defense to No Lie Blades and Hank Hayes. And then one of the guys that we were training with, he was a senior negotiator and captain in the police. Really nice guy. And he just said to me once, he said, the more I train, the luckier I get. And I just thought that has made me think so much about the honesty of that statement. And then that is honesty. You train more, the luckier you get, and that's what it is. There's always a certain amount of luck in this stuff.
Of course.
But I've obviously sort of seen what a lot of your self-defense stuff as well, Bob, and I like the mindset stuff that you do, and with your experience with NLP and stuff like that. So I mean, it's just another beast, isn't it? The two are completely separate. A martial art and a self-defense are different, But it just happens that if you do a martial art, you're generally good at moving and good at striking. Well, that does help the other thing massively as well.
And you can tell the people who don't have a foundation art, because they find it really difficult to pick anything up. Their balance is wrong, their distancing isn't quite right, you know. And I think we've both, and I probably speak for other instructors listening, we've all had people who've come to us, oh yeah, I've been training martial arts for years, and then they couldn't even stand upright, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas,
have you ever had dancers turn up and they're really good?
yeah, of course,
they know how to move.
they know how to move, how to use your body.
Yeah, exactly. So it could be a dance, or it could be anything. You know, someone that does Olympic, not Olympic. What do you call it?
Ballet.
Ballet.
Tap dancing. What?
Yeah, anything. Yeah, anything sort of any type of sort of sport or something gives them that edge.
Gymnastics.
That's the one I was trying to think.
That's the one. You see, a couple of old blokes trying to think.
It's all that being hit around the head too many times.
What? Who are you? What are you doing in my front room? No, it's true. The funny thing is, though, right, and this is an interesting point, right? As you get older, obviously you forget a lot of stuff, but you still can do stuff. You know what I mean? I'll be teaching a class, and somebody will say, "Wow, that's brilliant. Where did that come from?" And I think, oh, I can't remember.
That happened to me last night. Said, can you show me what you just did? And I went, I can't remember what I just did.
Yeah, I do that. I'll do a combination, and I'll turn to one of my students and go, right, I've got to remember this now because I've just shown you it.
Yeah. I actually say, for a laugh, and I've told my instructors this, I just say, well, it's not bad considering I'm making it up as I go along. And in a way I am, because
that's what a fight is.
It should be. It's not a series of, you know, it should flow. Everything should flow. And in a way, making it up as you go along is exactly it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. But having the ability to improvise only comes out of putting all the foundation work in early on.
Yeah.
Because I've got young instructors who will plan their lessons out. Whereas I'll turn up for a lesson and I'll say to one of the students, what do you fancy doing? And they'll go, oh, can we do, you know, elbows? I go, okay. And when you've been doing it a long time, you have that ability, Keith, to be able to just go, I can build a lesson around that. So I'll start with the elbows, and all sorts of stuff comes out of it.
Yeah.
And every time you do it, it's different because, you know, you get lucky, because the harder you train, the luckier you become.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
And that applies to everything, you know. Training the basics is fundamental. Any skill, whether it's dance, gymnastics, it gives you a mindset, doesn't it? A discipline.
Definitely, yeah. And I think, you know, I will do a lesson just on basic movement and footwork, and even my instructors will go, wow, you know, because sometimes you get bad habits because you're getting better, so you're doing other things, and then you start forgetting your basics. And I think it's important to keep revisiting them. Doesn't matter who you are, what you are, or who you think you are. You still need to do your basics, and you got to keep them up. You can't. I know they are in other things that you're doing, the way you're moving, but you still got to do it. And I think that's important as well.
I'll tell you, the lockdown, what it's done. I mean, I don't know how much online stuff you've done, but I run a class once a week online, and teaching Muay Thai is very difficult because it's a 2-person sport. You've got two people working together on the pads, either sparring or whatever. And bag work, not everybody's got a bag in their house either, so you can't do bag drills online. So what I've been doing is revisiting all the footwork patterns. And what's happened is the guys who turned up for training, there's only a small group, anything between 8 and 12 people. When we went back after the first lockdown, we came back to the gym. Their footwork was superb, you know, and it just showed, because I said, you see how important the footwork is. And they were like, I said, your footwork, your kicks have got better. You know, even though you haven't been in the gym, just because we've been practicing basics, all of your kicks, your strikes have all got better. You know, their stamina was gone, obviously, because they weren't working on bags and pads as intensively. But the way they threw the techniques was really clean and crisp.
Yeah,
and it's about basics, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think you can teach a certain amount of basics of anything on a Zoom. Definitely.
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah.
So you know, that's not the issue. I mean, what the issue we've got is doing the bread and butter and the stuff that we love. But definitely, I think you know, especially for beginners, you know, it's like I never thought of it. You know, I've seen other people, you know, doing their online courses and stuff, and just simple as wrapping hands, stuff like, and you know, it's stuff that a lot gets missed out, doesn't it? You know,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, oh, can you show me? I'm just about to start. I'll show you at the end. I'm sorry, someone comes up and talks to you. It's important stuff because, you know, it could stop someone getting injured.
Yeah.
And you know, it's just, so there's a lot you can do. And going back to the online, I've not really done a lot of online, to be honest. I have recorded stuff. I put it on my two groups, my Wing Chun class and my Krav Maga, on their private pages. So I've done it that way to keep the students I've already got happy. But you know, I've not really got an online presence. It's something that I'm going to start looking into.
You should. I'll tell you what it does as well. I'll tell you what it does, Keith. You should give it a go. Just not once a week. I only do mine once a week, and it makes you think. The first time I started doing it, I was really having to think about how I was teaching, because you're not in there being able to correct people. You can't physically correct people. And you know, I found that it was tightening up my way of teaching. It was improving my communication. And it was also, actually, I spent more time with individual students, even though I was online, than I would in a class. Because you probably, I don't know whether you're the same as me, but sometimes when you go to class, they're working together with their partner and they'll ask you a question. You end up standing there talking to them for about 15 minutes. And you sort of forget a little bit about the rest of the class, and you have to stop and go, oh, I need to give everybody else some more time. When I'm online, I literally look at the screen and go, right, Tom, good. Pull your hips together, turn this, move your knee there. Brilliant. Sam, you need to do this, this, and this. Erin, you need to do this, this, and this. That's really good, Kay. And I just go around the screen like that. And everybody said, oh, I feel it's weird. I feel like I've had more contact with you online than we normally do in a class.
Yeah.
Because, of course, when you're in a class, you've got distractions. You might have a partner who wants to chat to you, or you might see somebody else doing stuff, so you stand watching them. You see it happening in classes all the time. And particularly when you get a really good question and you end up spending, you know, sometimes students, you've got to spend a lot of time with them. Online, you can't. Because you can see everybody and you go, right, I've got to give everybody time. So you should. I'm serious about it. It's a different. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm still not a fan of online teaching, but I can see the value. You know, it's like we were saying before, no matter what you do, something's got a value to it. You know, you go and train on a course, even if you think most of it was shit, you got one thing off it, you go, that's great, I'll have that. And I think the online, it makes you focus like nothing else.
You know what though? The funny thing is, it is all depending on the sort of way you look at something. You know, I was just reading some posts on Facebook the other day, and there was people saying, "Oh well, you're never going to learn nothing online. What a load of shit!" Blah blah blah. You know, you've got to be in a gym and all of that. And I get that, and that's been sort of roughly how I've been thinking, to be honest, to a certain extent. And then someone said, "Well, if you had that attitude, you'd never read a book."
You would never read a book. Exactly.
Most of us got Combat Magazine, Martial Arts Illustrated. Most of us bought Bruce Lee books or any books on the martial art that you studied and looked at the pictures, and you had all the pictures of them doing this type of thing, you know, and we all learned from them. And it's not always to say that it's the best way, but it definitely helps with, if you are training, it's a great resource to work with your training. If you can't train, well, it's better doing that because it's keeping it in your mind. It's still a way of training, and it's better than nothing. And at the end of the day,
I think you're right. I mean, when they were saying that it's no good, I mean, that's a really sort of stupid approach to anything, really.
Mm.
You know, you're going to learn something. And like I say, as a teacher, you know, just teaching online makes you think completely differently. And, you know, when I went back into the gym after the first lockdown, having done all of the stuff online, my teaching had changed a little bit. There was different things I was looking at. So despite the fact I've been doing this all my life, you know, like, what is it, 54 years of martial arts, you still can learn stuff. And to say that you can't learn anything, yeah, it is madness. I mean, I'm still, you know, I'm not 100% up. I wouldn't want to do all my teaching online. Put it that way. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, yeah.
But even just that 1 hour a week, because that's all it is for me, an hour a week. It keeps you in touch with your students. They feel that, you know, that you care about them. And the ones who come back and train online with you, you know, they're the serious ones. And it's always the same people come back online, always the same, you know. And I know that those are the ones I'm going to be able to depend on, you know. And they're the ones who, because they train hard, they get lucky. They get, you know. Now it's a new way of looking at things. And I mean, the other thing is, Keith, you learn a lot about the technology as well, which is useful. You know, like if we hadn't had lockdown, I wouldn't be having lights and special microphones and proper camera and, you know, working online the way I'm doing now. I've learned so much, which is going to be useful for other things, of course. You know,
well, I mean, it's even like this Zoom call. I've never done a Zoom call before.
Was that the first time?
Well, no, not today, but since the lockdown, it has.
Oh, since lockdown, of course. Sorry, yeah.
Zoom call, and then there's me with doing a Zoom call with my instructors, and actually, I had them all in one place for once.
Yeah.
Get them all
together.
We've got a full turnout. But no, it is definitely, you know, I'm not the most tech savvy person, but I'm getting better. And at the end of the day, I'm sure the problem is, Bob, when you see someone doing everything, you go, oh, look at them, they know what they're doing. And you don't think actually one day they didn't know what they was doing.
Absolutely.
You know, so all they did was just persevered with it. So that's what I'm gonna do. I've got to, while, you know, the gym that I'm in at the moment, I've not been in there long, so I've got to get internet put in and stuff like that, and then I can do a bit more, because there's no point me trying to run it off my phone.
No. I mean, I mean, it is, you can do it, but it is difficult. I mean, when lockdown happened, I I bought a new camera and I brought sound equipment, light equipment, and I mean, I wanted it to be, you know, the best experience people could have. So even though we only had a small group, it was great. I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? I got a lot out of it, you know. And I've learned how to do, you know, overlays and podcasts and blog posts and, you know, and all this other stuff that, you know, I mean, I had a YouTube channel, but it had about 6 films on it. Now it's got about 250 on.
Yeah, no, that's it's been great. I really think, you know, the way you've adapted to it's been brilliant, and you know, it gives me a bit of inspiration, because I think if that old sod can do it, why am I worried?
I'll take that as a
compliment. Otherwise, I'm not going to come and give you a cuddle, Bob, because I know the combat clincher come out and
you wouldn't believe I was trying to teach clinch work online. It was incredible, honestly. That made me think. Trust me, trying to teach clinch work without a person. I mean, it looked like some bizarre sort of Wing Chun form.
Yeah. There you go. I told you you'd come round.
You see, there's Wing Chun inside my soul. You know what I mean?
But you know what I mean? Even that, you know, it's nice to think like that, because it's making you think in a different way. It's like I taught, you know, eskrima sticks. I taught that to my Wing Chun students, and they're like, yeah, but I don't do eskrima. And I'm like, you're not going to be doing eskrima. I said, you're going to be doing Wing Chun. I said, because a stick is an extension of the arm. Yeah. So what we did was we was going in and I was showing them a bong sow and using using sort of the idea that, you know, if you feel force, you just let it go and flow around it. And we were doing really nice stick work in a Wing Chun way. And then I said, well, what's this hand? This is your Wu sow. You know, you're keeping it here, so it's you just turn it a little bit so it's protective, but you've got a bit of meat on your hand. So with a stick, it's not going to break your hand so much if you got it that way. And it was just really, it was I really enjoyed doing that because it made me think, and it made them actually think that, do you know what? It's you, whatever you do, and however you move, a stick is in your hand, and it's the same. You don't just grab a stick and go, oh, it's an escrima stick. It could be anything, couldn't it?
Could be anything. Of course it could.
And it was, it was a great lesson, and you know, it was made you, I like doing things, adapting things, and sort of, you know, not pigeonholing things all the time. I just really don't like pigeonholing. I just don't see the point of it, to be honest.
No. Well, I've done that, teaching stick to my Thai boxers back in the day. Private students who they'd be training me for 3 or 4 years, and I'm thinking, well, your Thai's fine, and I'll say, look, I'll tell you what, we'll introduce sticks to the game, and see, oh, I don't think it'll work very well. I said, yeah, let's do it. So we do a couple of lessons with stick, and exactly, you know, what happened with your guys happens with mine. They were like, oh, this makes me, I move differently now. And they can pick any weapon. If you can use a stick, you can virtually pick any weapon up. A short knife, a short stick, a cudgel, a long stick, a sword. You know, it's that ability to just turn your empty hand art into a weaponized art system. Because that's fundamentally, we move our hands the same as we use a sword, a knife, you know.
Yeah.
Just the weapon's slightly different. It's got an edge to it, or it's a cudgel, it's blunt. Or even like a kubatan, a short, you know, you do a lot of damage with them. You know, just put one of those in your fist and it transforms your fighting ability.
It definitely is. What I found as well is you know, when I was doing Thai with you, and also done some Thai in Crawley as well, but you know, and that's another thing, wasn't it? With, you know, the seminars that we was going to have one, wasn't we, before?
Oh yeah, well,
you know, hopefully next year, Bob, it'll be again. We'll do a Thai one, and I'd like to do a combat clinch one as well. That'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I like doing. I like, you know, often a lot of the instructors will say to me, what do you want to teach us? So you tell me. I mean, I got up to Scotland a few years ago, and Graham said, can we do Krabi Krabong? I went, yeah. We need something to replace a sword, of course, or a staff. So we ended up with just sticks. He went and bought some broomsticks, cut them down, and we used those as swords. And we did Krabi Krabong, you know, and yeah, you know, well, you know me, I'm happy to teach whatever, as long as I know what I'm teaching, obviously. You know, but at the end of the day, you said it earlier on, it's the science of 2 arms and 2 legs, isn't it? You know, you can only use them in so many ways. You know, but coming back to something, you know, you moved, you were doing your Wing Chun, and you moved into Krav Maga and the Muay Thai and stuff. You also did you have any? What did you learn from? Because you did a thing with Guy called FRACT.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And I mean, did that sort of alter the way you sort of taught? Did that give you a different perspective on it? Because Guy has a very different way of doing things. You know, it's very basic. I know that. I mean, I taught Guy back in the day, you know, and Guy, of course, was a Wing Chun man, wasn't he, under Sam Kwok?
That's right. I mean, FRACT was, he actually sort of, I can't remember the percentages, but it's something like 70% Wing Chun, 20% Thai boxing, and a couple of other bits and pieces in there. And you can see that when you actually do it. But I took most from Guy, what I took was thinking that everything you teach for self-protection or self-defense, always look at it from a girl's perspective of being 8 stone and her name's Tina. I think it was Tina.
That's exactly what he used to say. Would this work for 8 stone Tina?
Yes, that's right. So I got that right. Yeah. And I really like that, because I remember once I was teaching a guy, it was no lie blades again, and he was actually putting his weight over the top and holding a knife down with a double underhand grab. And I said to him, why don't you do an underhand and overhand grab? And then you've got your armpit to stop them lifting it up. He went, well, it's because I'm big and heavy enough and I'm putting my weight on. And I said, well, yeah, that's right for you. What if you're teaching someone who's 8 stone, how's that going to work? And he went, it didn't quite click. And I'm like, well, if you're an instructor, you've got to think about other people. You've got to think about the people you're teaching. It's not about you. And what works for you, you've got to actually know other ways so it can work for your students, because and that's what I liked about FRACT. It got you to think in a different way. I like the mindset change it gave me.
That's what Guy's all about, really.
Yeah, definitely. And that give just put it this way, Bob, you could have someone come up and you could be the best instructor in the world at teaching how to punch someone in the face, right? And then that's great, okay? And then all of a sudden, when the shit hits the fan, really, they just go to pieces.
Yeah.
Because they might be able to hit someone in the face really hard, but if they haven't got the mindset to actually do it when the shit hits the fan, and you've not changed that mindset, or at least tried to, and you've not actually sort of put that in the training, well, then it's not going to work when they really need it. And that's what I sort of took from that. And
I think you see there's a lot of martial artists, and you'll know what I'm talking about. They talk about mindset, they talk about awareness, they talk about all the psychological stuff, and then they don't teach any of it. They just talk about it. They go, oh, this is important, you need to do this, this, and this. And then they go, right, let's go and hit things.
Yeah.
I'm like, shit. And it's quite sad, because a lot of them will not go away and learn about this material. They sort of pay lip service and don't experiment with it themselves.
Yeah, definitely. It's like doing a 2-hour self-defense course for women. You're better off actually teaching them awareness skills than anything else, because
absolutely,
in 2 hours, really, you can show them some real good basics, but actually common sense is actually better. Not being in the bloody places in the first place, that is better than trying to teach, because you won't be able to teach much in 2 hours. I don't care what anyone says. If you don't want to train, don't train. But there's no halfways. You can't just go and do 2 hours and go, right, brilliant. Even with self-defense, it takes repetition. You've got to get good at it.
Yeah, over and over and over again. And I mean, I mean, when I run self-protection courses at the university, I look at the group, and it's always people who they're doing it because obviously they lack confidence. They're scared. They don't want to get into a fight. So I spend the best part of an hour, usually of a 3-hour lesson, teaching them how to build their levels of awareness up. What's the skills? How do you do it? Let's practice it. Repetition, but it's repetition of psychological principles, situational awareness, avoidance. It's all about that. When it comes to confrontation, most of them, even if they spent the next hour learning how to do a palm-heel strike, they wouldn't be able to do it in a fight, because fear would just overwhelm them, and quite a few people are not keen on that. I told them, say, I thought we were going to hit loads of stuff. I say, look, if I just taught you to hit things for the next 3 hours and send you off, you'd go off thinking you could fight. Somebody would pick on you in the street, you just fall apart. Then you'd come back to me and say, oh, none of that shit worked. Because it won't work. There was one guy on the course, I remember I actually said to him, I said, why are you on this course? Because he was hard as nails. And he went, I just want to learn about the awareness stuff. I went, oh, okay, because nobody would want to fight, and you love fighting. So
he was in so much shit and trouble all the time. He wanted to keep away.
I think he wanted to learn how to keep out of it.
Yeah. But that's great though. If that's the truth, that's working. And another thing is where it's like, de-escalation. How can you teach de-escalation if you're scared shitless?
Oh, exactly.
Jack shit. You've got to have some form of confidence to be able to take control of a situation. And I even did. I actually did an SIA course, Bob.
Oh, right, yeah.
And the reason I did it because I get people come to me and doing private lessons.
Okay.
Who are door supervisors.
Yeah.
Right, well, I'm going to do it to find out what they're learning. And then I can actually say, right, I know what you're doing. And what I'm going to show you is for you and your self-protection. And remember, though, at the end of the day, it all depends on what they're allowed to do within the place they're in. But there's a line. You know, if someone's trying to stab you, you don't worry about the place you're in. You worry about your safety first. And
what were your impressions of the SIA course? Do you think it lacked anything, or
yeah,
do you think it was? Do you think it was good, or?
Well, do you know what? I wouldn't say that. I thought the trainers were quite good, but their hands were tied in what they could teach, and it has become just like everything else, to be honest, especially for us, wishy-washy, and sort of politically correct, if you like. You know, can you please leave, sir? No touching. You know, and we know that life's not like that. So I found it pretty disappointing, to be honest. And also, you know, I was in there, I paid for it, and I was in there with about 6 people that didn't want to be there. They were all on the dole, and they just got a free ticket for it to try and get them a job. And it was awful because they didn't really give a shit and they didn't want to be there. So it wasn't the best experience. But I didn't do it for that. I just wanted to find out what was in it. And so hopefully I could show them something that if they really needed it, you know, I'm not saying that they can't use some of the stuff that was in there, and some of it was okay as well. Conflict resolution stuff was okay. So, you know, it wasn't all bad, to be honest. But I think
my experience of the SIA course is back a long time ago when they first set up. The trainers were really good, but they actually were frustrated because they were, as you say, their hands were tied by political correctness, health and safety, all of these other values. I mean, I mean, you know, being a doorman is not the safest job, particularly nowadays. You know, the prevalence of knife crime. More and more people are getting stabbed than ever before. Certainly in England, I think they've always stabbed each other in Scotland. Now, all my Scottish students are going to come on and go, "Yeah, that's true, Bob. That's true." Because I was once up in Scotland many years ago, up in Glasgow, Paisley, and I said, and with the rise in knife crime, we need to be aware of edged weapons. And all these Scots lads look at me. What do you mean? A rise of knife crime? We're always stabbed each other in Paisley. Everybody carries a knife. And they had because in Scotland they had, I don't know whether I think it might still be the same. There's a sort of a knife culture, you know?
Yeah, I think it was Glasgow had more of a reputation than other parts, and I don't know personally. I know it was cleaned up a lot, but I don't think you can ever take everything away from it.
No, you're going to get a certain proportion of it. But a lot of the Scots lads just laughed at me. Oh, it's turning into Scotland then. And I mean, I think the idea of the edge weapons in Scotland comes from their sort of traditions, because, you know, particularly in the Highlands. So, you know, you're looking up Perth towards Aberdeen and up that way. And the start of the Highlands, there was a culture of every man was entitled to carry a dirk, you know, a knife. And if you look at Scottish national dress, they have a skein do in the sock, a little knife. And it's part of the dress code that you have a skin.
You know, at the end of the day, when other cultures can, why can't they?
Exactly.
Really. And you know, I'm not going to go into a big song and dance, but we haven't even got one anymore because we're not allowed. That's the way I look at it. And you know, I think it's great that the Irish and the Scottish and the Welsh have kept their traditions and stuff,
their identity.
And I think that's great. I really do. I'm just pissed off that we're not allowed to.
Hey, I'm a Geordie. I'm happy with my identity and my culture.
I mean, if I want to listen to English folk music, I've got to go to America.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
You know, I've got to go over there to the what are they called, the mountain range.
The Appalachians.
That's it, the Appalachians. And that's where that's the only place you're going to hear traditional English folk music that's unchanged, because there's people still living there that haven't moved on. They're still doing the same thing. And it's interesting, and I find that really interesting. But it's sad as well, to be honest.
Well, there's a lot of Scottish culture in North America and Canada as well, because the Scots were cleared over there. They were forced off their land by the landowners and sent to Scotland, sent to, you know, North America and Canada. So a lot of the Scottish traditions have still carried on
Yeah, yeah.
Because some of them, they've lost it, even in Scotland. Although Scotland does try to hang on to its identity, certainly at the moment they are, certainly with the EU and Brexit and all of that. You can see them like, they're independent, aren't they? You know what I mean? But that's sort of getting into the arena of politics, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, it is.
So we were talking about music as well, because I noticed you got is that electric acoustic in the corner?
Yes, it is. Yeah, yeah.
I thought it was. Yeah.
Silver tone arch top, 1962, I think it is.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it's quite nice.
Yeah, yeah. Because
But no matter how nice the guitar is, I still sound shit. So.
I've got guitars downstairs. I've got.
Yeah.
I love playing guitar, and yeah, that's
another. But you know what? I love playing it, but I've not ever got any good. I'm all right on it, but I'm not brilliant. But I still enjoy it, so it doesn't matter really. To
practice, mate. That's all it is. you know that.
I need to stop doing martial arts in the evenings. I might have a bit of time to play some guitar.
Yeah, well, I've been using a lockdown for some of that as well. So I've been practicing an hour or so a day. You got to, but something to do. But there's just one other thing, because I want to talk about was the no lie blades thing that you got involved in, right?
Yeah.
And did you go to the States to train with them then?
No, first of all, there was a course that was being done down in Plymouth, Anton St James. He was putting this course on, and I sort of noticed that, when we were ramping up the training, things weren't going particularly as well as I'd like.
Right.
As much as, hang on a minute, just because you go somewhere and someone tells you something works, you go, oh yeah, cool, it works. And then when you actually ramp it up, you start noticing things aren't. And I just thought, right, okay, well, I'm going to go to this. In my madness, sort of, traveling miles and in your 40s, and then actually being run around and crucified. I'm starting to come around to the fact that I don't need to do this anymore. No, but I love it. And so I went down there, did this course, and the first thing they did was just gave us this knife, no lie blade, aluminium type knife with a marking. It's not a new idea, but it was a very nice. The knives were actually quite realistic looking rather than the pen.
Yeah.
And fucking just went for me. Just literally a minute of someone trying to stab shit out of you. And I just realised I was covered. And that's what I really loved about it, was the fact that it can't lie. At the end of the day, you've got a load in the front, you need to do something about it. You've got a load in the bank, you're showing your back, So then we sort of did the course, and I just thought it was the most simple way of dealing with it. And I really loved it. So I became an instructor there and started going down there. And then I went over to do a sort of military course with Hank in Virginia, where he lives. And I went over there and helped teach, and also did my sort of military level instructorship over there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I really loved it. And also we went shooting as well. And I come 40th out of 44, which that's not bad at all, considering the little Brit in the corner that's not allowed to go shooting anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't come last, so I was really happy. But that opened my eyes as well, because we're rolling around the floor with AR-15s and firing up. It was great. And I had an old Sterling submachine gun there that I paid like $10 and managed to let that off, and that was amazing. That was it was like firing a machine gun tube.
Yeah.
And the noise that come out of that thing. But no, it was really good. And basically I've used that and done my own thing with it. And it's still no lie blades. It's just that you bring your own little things to think. Changed it a little bit, but it's still more or less the same, because if something's not broken, you don't fix it.
No.
And that's basically, I've brought that into my Krav Maga. That's our knife defense. And then I've got my clinch that comes from combat clinch and Wing Chun, and that is in there as well. We've also now become an ABA. Our gym has as well, so we've got a boxing coach as well, Kevin Webb. which is good. And I've gone off and done my level 1 coach as well for boxing, which is great. And that's all sort of helping the striking side of things. So what I've done really is I've taken Krav Maga, which was an art of mixed different arts anyway, because Emmy Lichtenfeld was a boxer and a wrestler. And I've just gone off and found what I think is the best in certain things and taken them and used them. And that's where Cross Krav Maga comes from, basically.
So it's been quite a journey, really, when you think about when you started off 20 odd years ago, doing a bit of Wing Chun, to now having your own gym. And of course, it's expanded because you've just moved to a new premises. So we're running out of time. So I want to talk more about how you see the future of the gym, and the structure of your classes, and talk a little bit more about some of the training you did in the US as well.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I mean, we're running out of time like now. So
Sure.
I knew this would happen. I told you it would happen, didn't I, Keith?
Yeah.
And people are always worried about not being able to have much to talk about. But when you've been in the martial arts as long as you have, there's always something going to come out of it. And I want to talk, like I say, in the next one, I want to talk about the future. How you're going to plan things once lockdown's done, and maybe a bit more chat about the no lie blades stuff, particularly with the handguns and weapons AR-15. That'd be interesting. I want to ask you a few things about that as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So I just want to thank you for coming on tonight, mate. And if people want to contact Keith, obviously there'll be information down in the description box below, with links and stuff to his organization and his group and where he trains, and he's not just restricted to one place. You've got a couple of instructors around the south, haven't you?
That's right, mate. Yes.
Yeah. So we'll put all that in the description box. So that's your homework, Keith.
Right. Okay.
And I just want to say thanks very much for coming on, and I look forward to going into more detail in part 2. Okay, Keith.
That's brilliant. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate. It's been a pleasure. Okay. Absolute pleasure, pal.
All right, mate. I look forward to the next one. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks, Keith.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks.